Are you ready to buy a home, but you're not sure how much it costs to buy a home? In this video, we'll break down how much money it really takes to become a homeowner. Understanding the real cost of buying a home is the key to making the right decision for your future. One of the first fees you'll pay in the home buying process is the escrow deposit. It's also called the earnest money deposit, and it probably has a few other names depending on where you live. This is good faith money that you put down to tell the seller, hey, I'm interested in your home. Please don't sell it to anybody else while I do my due diligence on the property and secure money to pay for the home. The earnest money deposit amount can vary. Where I live, it's usually about 1 to 2% of the purchase price. For this video, we're going to use $420,000 for the purchase price. This is currently about the median home price in the US, which is scary. In this example, you would need about $4,200 to $8,400 for the earnest money deposit. Where you live, this could be different. It could be customary to put like $1,000 down for the earnest money deposit, regardless of the purchase price. You want to check with your real estate agent to find out how much you can expect to pay. Now let's talk about the down payment. Assuming you're getting a loan, this is money that you put down toward the purchase of the home. Before we get into the details about that, I just want to make sure you know that your escrow deposit is typically credited toward your down payment amount. The amount you put down for a down payment can vary greatly. If you're getting an FHA loan, you can expect to put down about 3.5%. So in this $420,000 example, it would be $14,700. If you were trying to do a conventional loan and avoid PMI, you would probably want to put down 20%, which would be $84,000. Big difference. But just so you know, 20% used to be, sort of the gold standard of what you would put down on a house. Nowadays, with the prices of homes, it can be pretty difficult to do that. So some people might put down 5% or 10% down. It really depends on your personal situation. It's always best to start talking with a lender sooner than later, so you can come up with a game plan on how much you should put down on a home. Now, if you're getting a VA loan or USDA loan, those are typically 0% down loans. Another thing to explore is down payment assistance programs. Talk with a lender to find out what you might qualify for. Your real estate agent could also be a good resource for that as well. If you need help finding a real estate agent, I can help you find one in your area. The link is in the description. The full down payment isn't due until you close on the home. But if you are taking money out of like your 401k or something like that for your down payment, I would recommend working on that sooner than later to make sure the money is available when it's time to close. Let's move on to the inspection. You have a home under contract, now you're going to do an inspection. Typically, you pay for the inspection before the inspection starts. How much you pay will vary depending on where you live, of course, how big the home is, the features of the home, and exactly what inspections you're going to get. Inspections in my area start around $250 to $500. Check with your real estate agent to find out what you can expect to pay. You can also start to price out inspectors before you get to that stage of putting offers on homes. I like to have about 3 inspectors picked out that I can choose from in case 1 or 2 are busy and can't do the inspection in a timely manner. I encourage my buyers to get whatever inspections they feel make sense for them. Depending on what inspection company you use, they may offer all kinds of different inspections. You could easily pay like $1,000 or more for inspections. My opinion is a home is one of the largest, if not the largest purchase you'll ever make. To me, it makes sense to do as much due diligence as possible on the property and have a very thorough inspection. I go into a lot of detail about the inspection and what to do when you initially look at the home in my free home buyers course. The link is in the description. Because inspections can be pretty expensive, I do recommend when you're seeing the home for the first time before you put an offer on a home, really look at the home. Consider the condition, try to see any issues with the home that might be a deal breaker before putting an offer on the home. Then there's the appraisal. If you're getting a mortgage, most likely your lender will require that you get an appraisal. This is to determine what the home is valued at and the condition of the home. The lender wants to make sure that they're making a good investment and the home is worth the amount that you're going to pay for it. Appraisals will range from about $300 to $500. This will depend, of course, on where you live, how big the home is, and what features the home has. For payment of the appraisal, I've seen it done different ways. Sometimes you'll pay for it in your closing costs, but Most times what I've seen is you pay for it up front, similar to the inspection. This might vary in your case, but what I've seen is usually your lender will choose the appraisal company. But if you don't agree with how much the appraiser is charging you, you could probably ask for estimates from other companies. Just check with your lender. Something to be mindful of is if your appraiser needs to come back for whatever reason, they usually charge another fee on top of the original fee. As an example, if an appraiser says there's an item that needs repair, it will need to be repaired, and then the appraiser comes out again to look at the repair. Another cost is the survey. The survey is done to verify exactly where your property line is. This is to make sure that there aren't any encroachment issues or future land disputes. The survey is typically required if you're getting a loan. If you're purchasing a condo, co-op, or similar property, you may not need a survey. Just find out from your lender what you can expect. It costs about $400 to $1,000 to do a survey. This will vary on how large the land is and what the terrain is like. If it's very hilly, it could be more expensive. Where I live, usually the title company orders the survey and you pay for it as part of your closing costs. This could vary where you live. Just talk with your real estate agent to find out what you can expect. In my area, some lenders will allow you to use a previous survey if it's not more than a year old. It could be worth it to find out if the current homeowners have had a survey done recently and if the lenders would accept it. You might save a couple bucks that way. Then there are closing costs. This can get broken down into 4 categories: financing fees, title company fees, taxes, and other. The general guideline I give my clients is closing costs are generally 3 to 6% of the purchase price. I've seen estimates of anywhere from 2 to 8% of the purchase price. So on a home that costs $420,000, you could expect to pay anywhere from $8,400 to $33,600 using the 2 to 8% estimate. Obviously, that's a pretty big range here. It's best to talk with the closing company and the lender to get an estimate of how much closing costs would be. For the financing fees, they're not necessarily standardized. I found each lender charges different amounts of money. Generally speaking, the loan origination fee is anywhere from 0.5% to 1% of the loan amount. In the $420,000 example, the loan origination fees could be around $2,100 to $4,200. I've also seen some companies charge a flat fee regardless of the loan amount. The loan origination fee can sometimes be negotiated. It's not a bad idea to speak with a few lenders to find out the best rate, loan program, and the loan origination fees that fit your mortgage needs. There may be some other fees that the lender charges as well. For the title company, they'll charge for services related to the title and other services performed. This is where you might pay for your survey, permit search, municipal lien search, and lenders and owner title insurance. Not all of these fees are paid for by the buyer. It varies by county, at least where I live. There are also notary fees, courier fees, and all kinds of other little fees that you'll see on the closing statement. Then there are the taxes and other government fees. So this is like property tax. Now, where I'm from, property taxes are paid in arrears. So in that case, the buyer gets a credit from the seller for property taxes based on the amount of time the seller lived in the home that year. This could be different where you live. There are also recording fees, documentary stamp fees, and there might be some other taxes or fees that you might pay in your area. Then you have any other miscellaneous costs. One thing that I can think of is an HOA or condo association transfer fee, or it may be called an initiation fee. You may also need to pay for the first month or two of the HOA or condo fees. There are also prepaids like homeowner's insurance and maybe property taxes. This will depend on what your lender requires. I think the best way to get an estimate of your closing costs is to get an estimate from your lender and your closing company. Usually the lender will have the most accurate fees for financing, and the closing company will have the most accurate fees for everything else. By comparing both estimates, you can get a pretty good idea of how much you might need to close. In the example of buying a home for $420,000, you could expect to pay anywhere from $24,000 to $90,000. This figure includes your down payment, closing costs, inspection, all that fun stuff. So the moral of the story, in my opinion, is start talking with a lender sooner than later. Find out exactly how much money you'll need to buy a home, as it really does vary case by case. Hopefully these figures give you a good starting point. How much home can you afford? Check out this video to find out, or this playlist about the home buying process. Reach out to me if you have any real estate questions. My contact information is in the description below. Thanks for watching to the end, especially if you're a subscriber.